Welcome back to Winning Isn't Easy, our Social Security Disability podcast. What happens after the Social Security Administration determines that you have met the non-medical criteria? Now, that involves a discussion of the 5-step sequential evaluation. It's Social Security's job at that point to determine whether or not you meet that test. Number 1, do you have a medically determinable impairment or impairments? Number 2, is your impairment or impairments expected to result in your death or has already lasted or can be expected to last for a continuous period of 12 months? Number 3, does your impairment or impairments meet or equal a medical listing? Number 4, does your impairment or impairments prevent you from performing the lightest and simplest job you held in the 5 years before your disability is decided? Number 5, does your impairment or impairments prevent you from performing other substantial gainful activity in the national economy in view of your age, your work experience, your education, and your restrictions and limitations? Now, as a very experienced Social Security disability attorney, I think one of the ways to get at the listing, to get at the issue of whether you can go back to your past relevant work, and to get at the issue of whether you can do other work is to have your physicians complete some forms called residual functional capacity forms. And I think there are probably about 50 or 60 of them based on different medical conditions. We Social Security lawyers have created them. And these are forms that Social Security will never tell you about, and your doctor doesn't necessarily know about them. Now, there are doctors who do a lot of Social Security work, and they're familiar with the forms. But the key here, in my view, is to have your physician, if they're willing, to complete a residual functional capacity form. The way these forms are drafted is they will generally try to meet the elements of a listing. So your doctor is addressing the listing elements, but more importantly, your doctor is addressing your functional abilities, your ability to sit, stand, stoop, walk, bend, to lift, to maintain pace and production, to deal with breaks, to deal with issues of absenteeism. From a psychological standpoint, the issue is going to be your ability to pay attention, to concentrate, to get along with others, to do simple, routine, repetitive tasks, to be in attendance, to meet pace and production requirements from a psychological standpoint. And so the way we get at that is through these residual functional capacity forms. In my view, what your doctor puts on the RFC form should be consistent with the history that you're telling your doctor about your symptoms and functionality. Now, there are times when doctors won't fill these out. So what we try to do is to make sure that the client is giving a good interval history. But there are some times when I have to say to my client, look, you may love this doctor, but this doctor isn't going to help us. And given the length of time it takes to get through the claims process, I want you to think about finding another doctor who would be willing to work with you in supporting your Social Security claim by taking a good history about your symptoms and functionality, but to fill out the residual functional capacity forms. I will tell you, if you're a veteran, that's a particular problem because the VA medical records, in my humble opinion, don't do a very good job of recording a person's history, their symptoms and functionality, their interval history about any changes. And doctors, despite VA regulations, will not fill out these residual functional capacity forms. So again, sometimes I have to suggest to my veterans that they use private pay insurance if they have it, or TRICARE, Champus, or whatever, to see doctors outside of the VA system so that we have the necessary medical records and residual functional capacity forms to show that you meet steps 3, or if you don't, that you meet steps 4 and 5. Remember, the game here at step 4 is to prove that you can't go back to the lightest and simplest job you held in the 5 years before you became disabled, which is generally pretty easy. But where the rubber meets the mat is step 5, proving that you can't do other work in the national economy in view of your age, education, work experience, and restrictions. That boils down to an ability generally to do a sedentary job on a full-time sustained basis. So think about jobs like sorting nuts and bolts, addressing envelopes, scanning things, anything that can be done sitting down it's fair game for the Social Security Administration to say, hey, in view of your age, in view of your education, in view of your work experience, in view of your restrictions, you can do that sedentary job. And if you can do a sedentary job, Social Security will deny your claim. So we want to attack that from the very beginning with your history of your symptoms and functionality, and if possible, those residual functional capacity forms. Got it? Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Winning Isn't Easy. If you've enjoyed this, please like our page, leave a review, share it with your friends and family, and please subscribe to this podcast. That way, you'll be notified every time a new episode comes out. Tune in to next week's insightful episode of Winning Isn't Easy. And in that episode, I'm going to delve into the listing of impairments and what you need to know about getting your benefits at step 3. Thanks.